Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Dabi here, back again, finally with My Hero Academia. I'm excited that we'll finally get to actually watch these final two episodes, because yes, the English dub, they have released episode 24 and 25 at the same time, so that means I can just react to them both now and get them out, without having to wait for the finale of season 4. So yeah, that's exciting, and I hope you're excited as well to watch me react to those. So, yeah, I mean, considering the pandemic and having them like sort of delay episodes, I think that started with episode 20, I believe, though you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they were releasing like it seemed like every few weeks, so like it really slowed down the sort of the production, but they basically had set up like a traveling sort of like audio booth where they could literally go set it up at the voice actors' houses and everything. And it was just really well done. Like, I'd never noticed it, like the quality drop in those episodes at all. And I was fine waiting for that reason. Because it was, it turned out still amazingly well. And I think that's the great thing about the show is that the English dub never like ceases to drop, in quality. So I'm excited. So yeah, we're going to be doing episode 24 and 25 right now. We don't have to wait, which is great. So in the last episode, it was a very sweet episode and almost like the culmination of what I consider to be the overhaul arc. Like, I mean, technically you can say that it kind of ended episode 14 maybe, but really I don't think that's true. I think the overhaul arc, the biggest sort of side of it was Eri, and I talked about it last episode, but essentially with Eri finally being able to sort of break free of Overhaul and having that, that smile, that natural smile come across and having a real good time was the real culmination of that arc. So, and it was, not just for that, but the fact is it was a great episode because Jiro like finally got her like standout moment, and being a hero and not in the conventional way that you would think about being a hero. But yeah, I mean, something that I did actually forget to point out in words. I mean, I already felt it anyway, but there were people that were saying in the comments that Jiro is now like officially Eri's hero as well, which is, yeah, I mean, I wish I'd put it into words last episode, but yeah, I felt the same way. It's a great sort of, it's a great thing because I've loved Jiro since she cropped up, really, and for her to finally get like that big moment and such a big moment of the story as a whole, and Jiro's like a main part of that is really cool. So, and being able to do both and like having her be a musician and also, but like, in line with like that hero work, that's how it like all culminated together. You know what I mean? It means that she can do both and she doesn't have to choose one or the other. So that was really cool. What else? I mean, we got was it the end of this episode? I think wasn't it the end of 23 when was it the after credit scene that we got with Gentle and Labrava and how they're going to actually be in like reform and stuff? That was really cool as well. I'm so happy that they actually shone a light on that, because I was talking about it before episode 23 about I hope like they don't get like just thrown into jail and that's it and whatever, and there's nothing done with that. So I'm happy that was the case. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. There was somebody, I must have wrote this down afterwards because I think I've got like drunken handwriting on this, so I must have wrote this down like after, like sometime after episode 23. It must have been when like I was watching a reaction to the episode or something, and I just may have thought of it. But there was a guy, I can't remember, I think it's like, I can't remember who the guy is, who the channel is, but there was a guy who put out a video about, I think it was like something like, who your waifu is and what it says about you or something, right? And it was My Hero Academia, right? And he completely disregarded Jiro and just threw out the window, like, if that's your waifu, then you're just ultimately wrong. Well, here's a big F you to you, mate, right? Because that's bullshit, right? Anyway, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about, right? I just wanted to give him the middle finger for that, because now he's fucking wrong, isn't he? Anyway, yeah, so I don't think there's anything else really to talk about. We're going to get in episode 24 and see what we get. If you do want to go actually watch the reaction, the link will be in the description below for the 10-minute version. There's also a link to the full length there. If you do want to watch it in full and not just the cut version, then the offer, it's there for you. So, yeah, nothing else to talk about. Let's get in episode 24 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 24, and yeah, I love the little like section of like the Billboard hero chart that like we actually got like a presentation regarding like who was like, you know, in what position, what rank they actually were, because that was something that was like sort of kind of like just like an off-topic kind of statement that Deku made, I think, like in episode 3 or 2 maybe. It was like a really early episode. You know, that it was just like it mentioned, I don't know, like, because I think well, obviously it mentioned All Might at the top, and then it was Endeavor and number 2, and then I think they mentioned Best Genius, but they never obviously mentioned 3 at the time, because I figured that would have been Hawks. And other heroes like Edgeshot, who would have been 5th or whatever. But yeah, I mean, other than that, we really didn't get anything more regarding that. So I like these, just like these little sections of things that actually matter in the scope of like things going on in the background at all times, but not necessarily, you know, like they are up front or like are so like needed for the story. But I mean, because we have this whole thing of it ends up being a big deal, because Endeavor's not obviously that kind of hero that All Might was, and how, you know, he was this symbol of peace to people, that almost like the rankings almost didn't matter as much then, because it was a case of like, well, All Might is just like so good that, you know, the rest of them making it up, it just becomes like a number contest. Whereas now, to the like, you know, to society or whatever, it might feel that way, that it's still just a numbers thing and it doesn't really matter all that much. But I think for like obviously the sake of the viewers and us watching it, that we know the consequences of All Might's departure and stuff. And I suppose the characters do as well, but like mainly for us the viewer, it's seeing Endeavor's change into that number 1 spot, and how it's like his official move up to number 1 is like, you know, you see him along with Hawks, and he's trying to, you know, like become more likable and see how it, like, what it means to be a symbol of peace, and he's trying to change you know, his own thoughts on all of that and how it actually works. So yeah, I really like that. I really like the episode, and also I'm really liking Hawks. You know, I wasn't sure what he was up to at first, and even when he was talking to Endeavor after the Billboard chart thing, and he was saying how, you know, like essentially he cushioned the blow by, you know, making this huge statement in number 2 that it made the crowd almost focus more on what he was saying, so that whenever Endeavor said, like, the fact that Endeavor said it, so, you know, it wasn't like a massive statement, all he said was just watch me, you know what I mean, like very understated. So in a way of Hawks, like, he's almost being mainly like pure support for Endeavor, which I really like, because I feel like any of the other heroes, they're not looking at it that way. And specifically with, like, you know, with Hawks himself, you know, how we've had this whole thing with My Hero and the whole idea about you know, like it matters to be fighting for number 1 kind of thing, like that's been like put in the background. You know, in the build up of the show in like season 1, like that was something that kept cropping up, and even throughout the show it still has in like season 2 with the, you know, it's all about fighting to be number 1 hero. And, you know, for a lot of us watching the show, it's easy to kind of just think of that as like, well, why does that matter in being a hero? But, you know, the idea that, like, I feel like Hawks is the first hero that we've had that doesn't care about that, you know? I mean, even though his statement at the Billboard chart was to kind of, you know, and he claimed it that it was to obviously, you know, essentially to help out Endeavor and cushion the blow for him, that what he was saying does ring true for what I'm talking about, which is like he was saying that, you know, the thing that should matter is approval rating, as opposed to, you know, as opposed to, you know, not. So I think that goes along with him and being like, well, it's just like, you know, if you're doing a fucking good job, then that's what, you know, that's what should matter in the end. And that, you know, when he was talking to him later on in the episode, he was talking about how he wants a world where heroes have too much time. And yeah, I mean, that completely makes sense. It means that he's fighting for for essentially like world peace. You know, like he wants a time where we don't have to live in this society where shit is going wrong all the time, and you've got all these like massive powers on the villain side, like, you know, rising up. So I'm really liking Hawks. You know, I like his. It's only taken one episode, and I feel like we completely understand the direction that he's on. You know, it wasn't drawn out, and I like the fact that I like the way that he works as well. Like, he's got time for everybody. You know, he's so like calm, cool, collected. Kind of like, just like, he gives off this essence of like nothing is tough. You know what I mean? Like, in a way, he kind of exudes almost the same thing that All Might does, in that like All Might built up this whole thing of symbol of peace, and everyone was like, you know, when All Might shows up, or even with All Might just being around, it means that everything's fine. And Hawks does exude that kind of, you know, just because of the way that his personality is, and that he's like going along the street and he's nonchalantly just dispatching like people who are trying to cause a scene, saving dogs in the middle of the road. You know, and he's fine, like people, like, you know, asking for selfies, yeah, sure, why not, you know what I mean, giving autographs out. Like, he has time for everybody, and he does it without he doesn't complain about the whole thing, even though the whole idea of him being like, I'm fighting for a world where we don't have to, it's like, it's almost like in his head you could easily see a character who is lazy and whatnot saying that's what they want. They want a world where like I basically don't have to do anything. But because we see the fact that he has to work for that to be the case, it means that he's just not lazy. So I like that sort of just that juxtaposition there of that, you know what I mean? I feel like he's almost like a character that, I don't know, I don't think I've seen before. So I'm excited by him. You know, but I like the fact that he's purely, he lifts up other people, you know, like it's not about him, and him recognizing the fact that Endeavor does have the capabilities to be number one. He wants him to strive for that, so he lifts up the number one instead of shooting him down like a lot of other people do, because of the way that Endeavor used to act in the past. You know, even with Endeavor trying to change, you can still see it, like that one fan who was he's such a fucking hipster, and it's just like every person on the fucking internet, isn't it, that like is a fan of something. It's like, I used to like it when you know, in the olden days, it used to be much better back then, you know what I mean? And like this guy who's like, the reason why he likes Endeavor is because he's cool, and he's a bit mean-spirited and everything like that, and that's what was cool about him. So when he tried to offer up a fucking handshake, he was like, no, that's not good. What a god. And that's the funny thing is, well, as Endeavor didn't take it as like a hipster kind of reaction kind of thing. I guess he just doesn't know about that stuff, and he doesn't care about it, so it doesn't hit his radar. So he thinks of it as like he's done something wrong, but in reality, it's the fan that was the problem there, you know. But I guess it kind of just, again, it emphasizes that whole thing of this society in My Hero is like, they care about this kind of stuff that really shouldn't matter, you know. But because it is a society where so many people have quirks, and there is a shit load of heroes just like knocking about, that it does end up putting them as like celebrity status, and it for some people that's all they care about, and it becomes like a fucking, like a monetizable thing, and it's, you know, it's like they're actors as opposed to fucking heroes, you know. So yeah, I mean, oh god. And now we have Endeavor going up against a Nomu that is clearly like next level. I don't know if the original Nomu, though, I don't know if the high end will be like the original Nomu in terms of like strength and whatnot, because the ones that came after were nowhere near as powerful as the original Nomu. You know, but I don't know if it's going to be a case of just because of the quirks that one was given, and what the difference is with this high-end one. The interesting thing about high-end, well, first of all, he talks, right? So that's one thing. It means that surely he's not unless he's being controlled via a quirk from someone else, and the voice isn't coming directly from high end, then that would mean that this Nomu or whatever was a person that could handle the quirk, like the amount of quirks that he was given, right? Because wasn't that the whole thing when they got information about the Nomus and stuff? That was like, basically they were just given a ton of quirks that their body couldn't handle, and then therefore they basically became like, their brain like just ceased to function. It all just became like a jumbled mess in their head, and they became essentially robots to be ordered, you know. Now, I mean, the likelihood is that it's still taking orders under, from what we saw, Dabi, which is interesting, but it can talk. So yeah, it's like either its brain is not entirely mushed up, and whoever the human was that it came from somehow had, you know, the wherewithal and the body to be able to handle it. Well, I guess not the body, because it did end up changing into a Nomu anyway, like, you know, looks wise it looks like a Nomu, but its brain seems to be like, you know, relatively okay if it's able to talk. Like I said, it's either that or it's coming through from someone else, you know. Really what I should have done is listen to the actual, in fact that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen to it when it turns up and just see if I recognise the voices like Dabi or something, because you know, it may shed some insight, you know. Where were we? Here, right? Somewhere towards the end. Here we go. Nah, it definitely does not. It definitely does not sound like anyone we know, because it's very low, and you know, I'm trying to think, like, just by the way that it looks as well, like, it's not, it reminds me of like just the face up front. I'm trying to look at it because it looks like it's covered in ribbons, you know, like it's covered up in clothing over the top, like it's hooded, but the actual look of it looks like Tokoyami's shadow, which is interesting, you know, because Tokoyami's shadow is like that, right, where it's just like blacked out, yellow eyes, you know, I mean, I can get it up for you here, like, which is interesting. I wonder if there was something that happened because Tokoyami went out with Hawks, right? And we saw like Tokoyami for a bit at the beginning of the episode where he's like, you know, they're all like, oh, Tokoyami's probably got fans now, and he was saying that it moved too fast. That, like, you know, and Hawks was talking about it like in the meeting with like Endeavor, and he was talking about how they went out in, like, you know, trying to get their own sort of information regarding the Nomus and everything like that. That I wonder if they did come across them and there was something that happened that could have, I don't know, like cloned Dark Shadows to you know, and whatever. Or if it's just a coincidence that this one just happens to look like, because it's the same it's almost like the same voice as well. But I don't know, because I recall Dark Shadow having that kind of very booming voice when he was sort of big and out of control or something like that, wasn't it? I can't remember. I don't know. It was something like that anyway. Or I'm just getting it mixed up with something else. You know what I mean? But that's what this fucking discussion's for. It's what it's about, isn't it? Just trying to, you know, talk my way through, you know, what possibly could be and what possibly couldn't. But, you know, I just find it a bit convenient that this Nomu pops up that is unlike any of the other ones. It's able to talk, and it looks like Dark Shadow, considering the fact that Hawks was out with Tokoyami investigating these things. It kind of, you know, so we'll see. But yeah, so not only that, there's another connection here that could very well come to a head. I don't know if it's going to be next episode, because next episode's good. It's the finale, isn't it? So it's going to have to wrap up somehow. It may end up in a cliffhanger, which, oh god, that would suck. You know what I mean? A cliffhanger that's like so, like, you know, unbelievably massive. But the connection that I'm talking about is obviously Endeavor and Dabi, because when Dabi first showed up in season 3, when the likelihood of his like blue fire and whatnot, I was like, well, is he related to? Is he like a Todoroki that just went off? Because it makes sense in the terms of the story of like, well, he uses fire, right? So that's one thing. However, that's not the be-all, end-all of that. We had, when Bakugo got taken, that episode, we had, Dabi literally talked to Shoto, and he was like, it was almost like a familiarity there that, like, Dabi knew something about, Shoto. So, there's that. And it would make sense as well, like, why he would go away to become a villain by being brought up in that situation of being like used as a basically to grow up to become a tool to defeat All Might, trying to basically you had Endeavor trying to create the ultimate like set of quirks together, and basically like just creating children for the wrong reasons. So it would make sense from that perspective as well. And because of that connection here of Endeavor being the the one to go up against High End, why was it that Dabi is the one that let it loose? I don't know. And the thing that Dabi said as well, like, what was it? He said like the others aren't like weren't aware or something like that, right? Didn't he say that? I'm just having a look just to make sure. God, the Funimation thing like sucks, because the when you're trying to look across the timeline, it's not the right sort of thumbnail. Here we go. I found it. Right. The others before didn't really understand, but I don't think you'll disappoint. Huh. Alright, maybe Dabi was talking about the other Nomus then, because they didn't understand, but with High End being able to talk and function, I think that'll be it then. I think the idea that it'll be the Nomu actually talking then. Because he's basically confirmed that the others didn't understand, but this one understands to some degree. So I'll be interested to get more information on that, hopefully next episode. But yeah, so there's that connection as well. So all of it coming to a head. I'm excited for next episode. So what else? Eri's living at UA now. That's great. That's awesome. They've basically figured out that her quirk is tied to her horn, and it gradually gets bigger over time. And I said during the reaction, I don't know if it'll end up being in the 10-minute cut version, but I did point out the fact that it's possibly like Fat Gum's quirk. It's like similar to that, where Fat Gum uses up the fat that he's stored in order to attack. Or in the case of what happened to him earlier in the season, he went all out, and that basically got rid of all of his fat, which he seems to have gotten back in such a fucking short period of time. Like, how much is he? Bloody hell! How many calories do you have to put on in that short space of time? Bloody hell! He must have just been eating non-stop, but all the fatty foods. So I think it's relatively, I think, just similar to that it just grows over time, and then it kind of just, I don't know, it has to be released. Like, it's a build-up of power that Eri has less and less control over the bigger it gets. So, and then, it's just the cycle kind of continues. But yeah, she's living at UA now, which is great. Obviously, living in the teachers' dorms, which, yeah, the right thing to do. Get it as close to fucking Aizawa as possible, and get a living right next to Aizawa. So if shit does go awry, he's there and on tap. So, yeah. And Mirio as well, looking after her, of course, while, he doesn't have a quirk. It means that, I think he did talk about this earlier in the season, where he was like, I don't think I can go back to UA for a while, which does kind of suck, that like he can't engage in like his classes or anything because he doesn't have a quirk. It's like, it's a bit fucked, isn't it, in that regard? But at least with the Eri being there, he has something that is a connection to all the hero work and everything that he can help out with. And it's nice just seeing Eri just like, as a norm, just sitting there smiling, whereas before it wouldn't be that. So now she's just kind of just got a smile on her face, like just content, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, they talked about with Hawks and Endeavor and the little meeting that they had. Hawks was talking about how the initial idea was someone was going around Japan essentially influencing the societal sort of the talk amongst the people that that there are these Nomu just waiting in the wings and something, and basically propaganda in a way, and introducing fear into the hearts of the people, which is just the next step, I think. After All Might goes down, I mean, this is really what they wanted, isn't it? The fallout of All Might, and so society kind of collapses because it doesn't have its pillar anymore. So yeah, this is just the next step of inciting fear into the hearts of the people now. But I think this is what is perfect for Endeavor now, because if he can shatter this whole thing, then it puts him in that place, and that way people can start seeing Endeavor in a different light. But it also, as I was talking about, the people themselves can now, that fear will be shattered, and they won't, systemically, the fear won't be there, kind of thing. So that'd be cool. It's perfect timing. So I'm guessing we'll get. I mean, I don't think it'll be shattered in the course of one episode. So I don't think the finale next episode is going to completely disengage this. But I mean, who knows? I mean, I guess we haven't got a lot of high end, but I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight anyway, regardless, because it's a Nomu that can talk. So it's got to be. I don't know. I'm almost tempted to think that God, but if it's stronger than the first Nomu, sorry. All Might had to go out, all out to fucking, he went plus ultra to fucking, to throw that thing out of the building, and essentially what looked like into space, even though he didn't. But he sent him into the clouds with a plus ultra. So it could be a thing of next episode, Endeavor's gonna struggle with a fight, which is going to be interesting to watch, because we haven't seen that yet. So I'm excited, but yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I think it's interesting that High End just managed to sort out of everybody that was around, he went straight for Endeavor and Hawks. It's interesting that it sought out Endeavor almost in a way, that's interesting, and I don't know why that is. Why that happened, or if it's just convenience or what. But I don't know, maybe we'll get some information on that. I mean, that's why I throw up the whole connection with Dabi and Endeavor, and that maybe we're getting to a point now where the connection is actually confirmed. That Dabi being the one to set it free, and then it finds Endeavor, is kind of just almost on the nose, So we'll see what happens with that, but yeah, we got introduced to some new heroes as well. In specifically, obviously in the top 10, with number 9, the equipped hero Yoroi Musha, who I bet you is up there, ranked in the, high up there in ranked of the heroes that look most like villains. But he looks cool. I like the fact that he's just pure, equipped and fucking in samurai gear, and that he doesn't have any real, affirmations. He doesn't really care about the numbers outside of the top 3. It's just well, what's the point? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter past then. Just have one where it's the top 3. I like to think the fact that he just thinks that it's an embarrassment to be up here on stage as the number 9. Fucking hell, just show them the top 3. But yeah, he just sees it in a gold, silver, bronze type deal. But you know what I mean? I guess that's different from Bakugo, because even Bakugo getting the number 1 spot he doesn't like. You know what I mean? As long as he thinks it's not earned. Anyway, yeah, we've got number 8, which is possibly the strangest hero that I think this show's put out, and that's Wash. And I can't believe a washing machine is in the top 8. How is that? How is that? That must be purely based on approval rating, because I guess people just enjoy having a convenient hero around to wash the fucking clothes and shit. Fucking Wash. And it doesn't even seem like it has it's like a Pokemon. That's what it is, isn't it? This is 4th gen Pokemon and that's what it is. It's a 4th gen Pokemon. Anyway, we have number 6, who is a shield hero, which is a bit on the nose from the other anime that aired quite recently. Crust, who is almost like, he's also into the manliness thing, which is why I pointed out in the reaction that him and Kirishima would get on quite well. And that he's a regular as well. He normally gets into the top 10, so there's that. Number 5 hero, Rabbit hero, Mirko. So we saw her in the credits. I remember seeing her. I mean, not that it's fucking hard to say. I mean, the bunny house kind of gives it away, And then number 2, Hawks as well. We had Edshot as well, who has got a team together. I can't remember. Actually, you know what? I think that was already mentioned in like a previous episode. I think it was, I think it was like episode, like, I don't know. There was, they did mention this. I know they did. I just can't remember which fucking episode it was. But yeah, it's basically Edshot, Kamui Woods. I guess Mount Lady and Death Arms are in there as well. So yeah, I don't know if we'll be getting like a little, like if that like means anything for the story going forward. If we have them like clearly all together in some kind of mission, like, and we'll just get like a a one-off version, like, I don't know, of a scene of them working together or anything like that. But I just like the little like tidbits of information that crop up that now they're in a team together. So I'd imagine there will be something with them going forward, but like I said, we'll see. But yeah, Hawks, he was the youngest ever, wasn't he? He got into like the top 10 like 20 years old or something, or under 20. So yeah, he's an interesting character, Hawks. I like him already. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. It seems like it's going to be Endeavor versus High End, and then Hawks is going to be like supporting and trying to get like everyone out of the way. So yeah, excited for next episode. Anyway, that is all I got for episode 24. So thank you everyone for watching. Episode 25 will be out. Basically as soon as I can after this. I'm going to try and get out the same day if I can. But if not, just wait until tomorrow or something like that. But yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord. You can get yourself over there if you wish, and I also have a Patreon page as well, so you can go support me on there if you want to. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards that you can get if you do support me. So there's the early access tier, $5 a month, gives you access to shows a week early, and you get no, I was going to say, and you get 4 episodes of Hunter x Hunter again. This always comes back to me in some regard. I don't know why. I've already finished Hunter x Hunter anyway, so if you want to get the rest of Hunter x Hunter, you can go watch that now. But anyway, yeah, so there's that. There's also full length for $10 a month. If you do want to watch any of these in full, then you can do with that tier. And there are other tiers where you can pay to have a show reacted to as well. So if you want me to react to a show, go have a look at those tiers and see what they offer. But that's all I got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.